Playboy magazine founder Hugh Hefner has been the subject of many legends and rumors both before and since his 2017 death. But some secrets that have been revealed posthumously have called into question just how legendary of a status the late mogul deserves. Though Hugh did his best to hide it, his health was failing greatly in his final years, and he likely hadn't been a very potent lover for quite some time. In addition to the dark secrets of Hugh's last days, there's also the fact that he didn't treat all the Playboy bunnies very respectably. He reportedly viewed them as his property. Still, there are those who continue to revere the late Playboy mogul. That includes his widow, Crystal Harris. Join Factsverse as we take a look at a few secrets that came out after Hugh Hefner's death. Hugh Hefner died in September of 2017 at age 91. While the late Playboy mogul's death may have come as somewhat of a surprise to the public, despite his immense age, it wasn't shocking to those who were close to the magazine founder. According to those who knew Hugh best, they weren't surprised when he finally passed away. His health had been failing for many years, and it was only a matter of time. Though Hugh's death was certainly viewed by his loved ones as tragic, they expressed they believed the late Playboy mogul still lived an incredibly full life. Despite Hugh's legendary status, many members of the public likely viewed the magazine founder as being somewhat immortal. The late elderly mogul's efforts to keep himself surrounded by youthful and beautiful women certainly promoted this idea, though it appears he hadn't been a very potent lover in the years leading up to his 2017 death. Still, Hugh tried his best to convince the public he was the same young man he used to be. Pamela Anderson remained close to Hugh after their time working together professionally, and she was one of many close to the mogul who remarked on his failing health during the final years of his life. According to Pamela, Hugh tried his best to prevent the former Playboy model from seeing the true ramifications of his failing health. But he couldn't hide from her the obvious fact he was using a walker. Pamela also shared that Hugh could barely hear the last time she saw him, and she could tell death was close. Despite Hugh's efforts to hide his failing health, rumors of his death were rampant in the year leading up to its actual occurrence. Hugh could often be found combating these death rumors publicly, often utilizing his trademark wit to make it seem as if the notion of him passing away was absurd. In one famous instance, Hugh remarked to the news of his supposed death by saying he wished he had known about it because he would have canceled his plans. While Hugh was doing his best to appear as healthy as possible, the late mogul likely knew that death was around the corner. But that didn't stop him from doing everything in his power to defy it. For years before his death, he took many health precautions meant to ensure a long and healthy life. One of these saw him only eating food specially prepared for him by his own designated chefs. When it came time for him to travel, he would have his chefs package his favorite meals so he could take them with him. Hugh also made sure that his personal physician accompanied him on every trip. This habit began back in 2006 and continued until the time of Hugh's death in 2017. The physician saved the mogul's life on at least one publicly documented occasion, stepping in to save the day when Hugh began choking on a piece of food during a public meal. While it likely wouldn't have taken a personal physician to prevent him from choking, we can appreciate the late magazine founder's concern. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Factsverse for more. Stick around for more about Hugh Hefner. As Hugh Hefner's health began to decline in the later years of his life, one of the ways that the mogul managed to hide this from the public was by decreasing the amount of public appearances he was making. The last time he was ever photographed professionally was at the Playboy Mansion's Halloween party in 2015. He was photographed alongside his wife Crystal, who remained married to him up until his death. While the photo of Hugh Hefner and his wife at the Playboy Mansion's 2015 Halloween party may have been the last professional photo taken of him, the party didn't end up being Hugh's last public appearance. This was made the next year in May of 2016. It coincided with the official announcement of that year's Playmate of the Year, who was a model named Eugenia Washington. For the next year, leading up to his death, Hugh remained mostly out of the public eye. But there was an Instagram post made by his sons in June of 2017 that showed him involved in a game of backgammon. Many close to Hugh Hefner have claimed that he had a crippling fear of death, which was a huge reason why he worked so hard to live a life of such excess and indulgence while he was alive. He reportedly kept detailed diaries of everything he did during his life, leaving behind nearly 2,500 distinct scrapbook volumes. Hugh felt documenting the details of his life would lend him some sort of immortality. While Hugh is remembered by some as a womanizer who had seemingly infinite sexual partners throughout his life, there were a few women that the mogul actually tied the knot with. His last wife was Crystal Harris, who was married to him at the time of his death. Hugh is said to have been worth around $50 million at his passing, though none of his money went to his wife. Instead, it all went to Hugh's kids. But Crystal did get a modest inheritance of her own in the form of a $5 million house that Hugh had purchased for her. After his death, Crystal sold the house and has been living off of that $5 million ever since. She remains close to Hugh's kids, though she has moved on romantically. She's been seen recently dating one of the engineers from Elon Musk's SpaceX. While Crystal Harris still has some respect for the late Hugh Hefner, there are many other women who were involved with him during his life who have expressed he wasn't always the best person, especially with regard to the way he treated women. The reality series The Girls Next Door gave the public an intimate look at what it was like to be one of Hugh Hefner's girlfriends at the Playboy mansion. Years after the show ended, many of these so-called girlfriends that had been featured spoke ill of Hefner. Of the three main stars, the one who has talked the most poorly about him in the years since the show ended is Holly Madison. Though she was never actually a Playboy playmate, she did live with Hugh for many years and was one of the main stars of that show. From what the series showed, it appeared as if Holly was happy with her and Hugh's arrangement. But Holly has since come out and expressed that living at the Playboy mansion and being one of Hugh's multiple girlfriends wasn't the most positive experience for her or anyone else. According to Holly, Hugh would often pit his various girlfriends against each other. Holly would regularly feel incredibly insecure, and this led to her developing an eating disorder. Being involved with Hefner also appears to have been a miserable experience for Kendra Wilkinson, who was one of Holly's co-stars on The Girls Next Door. According to Kendra, making love with Hefner was such a miserable experience, she had to be sedated in order to perform to his liking. In addition to this interesting tidbit, Kendra also shared that lovemaking with Hugh only lasted about a minute. Years after his 2017 death, Hugh Hefner is as much of a polarizing figure as ever. While he's been often credited with such altruistic accomplishments as leading the sexual revolution of the 20th century, it appears there were many areas of his life where he held some fairly backwards beliefs. Now it's time to hear from you. Did you know Hugh Hefner's health was failing him during the final years of his life, or did you think he was pretty much immortal? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to FactsVerse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.